What is good, all of our listeners? Welcome to another episode of Games and Groceries. My name is Adam.
I'm Liz.
And I'm super sunburned. Because I didn't listen to my wife by putting on sun lotion.
Again.
Yeah. So yesterday, we had a pool party for the youth group. Liz was just like, Adam, you should put on some sunblock. And I'm like, no, man, I'm one of the cool kids. And I got sunburn.
Very burnt.
Yeah. But Liz, how are you doing?
I'm all right.
Are you feeling better?
A little.
Yeah. Like your tummy's doing okay?
It's all right.
Yeah.
It hurts a little bit this morning, but not too bad.
Yeah, I knew that it would take a little bit of time. In fact, just give you a preview of next week, we have a special guest coming on, and I will tell you who the guest is at the end of this episode. But I contacted him and I said, hey, Liz is not feeling too well. I want to give her a little bit of time to recover before, we do this interview. But yeah, super special guest, and you're feeling pretty good.
I'm feeling much better than when you originally made the interview request with the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
When you said, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to ask him, I was like, not this week.
Yeah, no. But yeah, so we got a special episode this week. We're going to be talking about, does gaming really make you fat? And we're going to talk about some articles here, as well as my brief fitness journey. But before we get to all that, we got some segments before we get to that. But before we get to those segments,
Oh, my goodness.
let's do the intro. So we just want to make sure that you follow us on the social medias. We are on Twitter at Gaming Groceries, or follow us individually. Mine is at Ace the Grocer.
And I'm at Journey First.
So you can be friends with us, follow us, and, chat with us. So definitely follow us individually and the podcast at Gaming Groceries. You can follow us on Instagram. Instagram is Games and Groceries, all one word. So follow us there. We share gaming memes and updates about the podcast. So definitely follow us there, as well as checking out our website. Website is called gamesandgroceries.com, where you can listen to all of the episodes, as well as read some articles that I sometimes write. I've been falling behind. Work has gotten super busy, but I'm going to get on top of that. But definitely check out the website, listen to all the episodes, find out where you can listen to the episodes, as well as some articles that I write from time to time. And speaking of that, some extra content. We actually just ordered some background equipment because we're going to be filming for YouTube.
Yeah.
So we used to do this. We used to film video podcasts, and it wasn't a great set. So now we're committed to it. We bought some like a good background. So we're actually going to be filming starting next week, filming a video podcast, as well as giving you extra YouTube videos during the week.
Yes.
We want to do at least 1 or 2 a week, maybe a gaming news topic, and just update you via YouTube. So we want to get the YouTube channel definitely started. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Games and Groceries Podcast. You can find us pretty easily. So definitely follow us there. Okay, so I promised you that if you rated and reviewed us on your favorite podcast platform, that I would read your reviews on the podcast. So to go through with that promise, we got 3 reviews on iTunes. So I want to go through this real quick. Greatest story ever played. What's up, guys? Each week, Adam and Liz talk about specific topic related to the gaming industry, ranging from topics like the case for short games to difficulties in games. They also discuss each episode of Life is Strange 2 as it's released. Yes, we will talk about every single episode of Life is Strange as it comes out. The next one is in August, so looking forward to that. You want to read the next one?
Yeah, the next one is from Werewolf359. He said, the chemistry between Adam and Liz is great as a gamer, but not as intense as some are. I never have a problem understanding and being engaged with their topics. This honestly feels like you're just sitting in a room with them talking about video games, which is what makes it great.
Yeah. We got a final one from Raven Co-op. I honestly love the chemistry that Adam and Liz bring to the podcast. Not only do they talk about subjects that I'm interested in, but their nerd relationship is legit #goals. I love their recommendations, their commentary on gaming industry, and they are so funny together. Yes, we are. 2 enthusiastic thumbs up. Fine holiday fun. So definitely give us your reviews on iTunes or whatever you listen to. Send us it via email or on Twitter so that I make sure, because we're on 14 different platforms.
Yeah, we can't check all of them.
Yeah. So if you want us to read your review on the podcast, definitely give us a review and send it to us, so that saying like, hey, can you read it with your fine voice?
You're so weird.
Fine. But yeah, so look forward to that, to the YouTube videos coming up next week. So yeah, the equipment should be here pretty soon. We got budget equipment, so, starting out.
Yeah, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, it's not terrible. So I think that was a good intro. Don't you say so to yourself?
Sure.
Yeah. So let's jump into our first segment.
Movie Minutes.
Movie Minutes is a segment where we talk about the movies that we watched in the past week, whether it be Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, or in theaters, and we want to recommend them or don't recommend them to you. And this week is actually a Prime original film, and it's actually the directorial debut. Directorial
debut
of Idris Elba.
There you go.
Yeah. So we want to talk about it because we love Idris Elba. So let's talk about it. The movie is called Yardie, and it is a Amazon Prime original. Opening thoughts.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? That basically sums up how we feel.
Yeah, that really is just that's our whole feelings on the movie. It was a good movie.
Yeah, it was fine. So let's talk about the notes that we have here. So the first one I want to start off with, it wasn't really the strongest open to a film. I'm not trying to say I was expecting spectacular, but when we were just coming off of Borg versus McEnroe, where it had like a super strong open, this open was just, it was basic, right? But it wasn't the strongest open. However, it gave you purpose behind the plot. As you watch the movie, you're just saying to yourself, okay, this is why this is happening. It gave you purpose behind the plot. It was very textbook, and it was your basic intro to a story.
Yeah.
Right. So what did you think of the intro?
I enjoyed it. It did jump within its own timeline.
Yeah.
So that was a little confusing at first.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, the intro is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was your basic textbook intro.
But it wasn't. It was pretty good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There was nothing wrong with it. It was just that. Oh, yeah, that's what happens.
It's an intro.
Yeah, exactly. Which brings me to my second note, is that the entire movie was very, very average, and it's not a bad average. Like, oh, this is just
this is average. It was it's average. That's pretty good.
Yeah. What my note says is that the storytelling is nothing remarkable. It's nothing to write home about, but it does nothing wrong either.
Yeah.
It's just you watch the film, and if your friend asks you, if our audience asks us what we think, it's like, well, it was nothing remarkable. It wasn't a standout film. It wasn't compelling, as some reviewers said it. It wasn't remarkable. However, you watch the film, and it's just like nothing happened wrong. There's nothing in the film that was inherently wrong in the storytelling. Yeah. It was average. It was very textbook, and this is the directorial debut of a fine actor.
Yeah.
However, I was not surprised. So it took place in Jamaica, but then he moved to London, and I was like, of course he wanted it in London. So I believe Idris is from England.
I have no idea.
I can never remember if he's from England or Australia, but I'm pretty sure England.
Check.
But yeah, so the whole storytelling from beginning, middle to end, each act was very textbook, and that's how all I can really go off of. Are you looking up where he's from?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's an English actor.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay, so he based it in England and based it in London. But this wasn't a film that you've never seen before. It's very what goes wrong in the gangster life. You know, he's selling drugs and what goes wrong with it. There's nothing you haven't seen before, but there's nothing wrong with it. And I think we should go to our last note about this. The problem I had with the film, though, is that it was definitely sending a message. Right. It was sending a message of letting go of your past. Mm-hmm. However, the message of letting go of your past gets muddled in other themes in the film. We had themes of being a good father. We had themes of don't do drugs. We had themes of respecting authorities. It just got into a mess of messages. Mm-hmm. It almost felt like he was throwing everything at you, almost as if Idris was saying, like, this is my only shot of sending a message to the audience. So I'm going to send out every single message that I have to give. Yeah. All my wisdom. And that's what it really felt like. It felt like a whole mess of messages. And that's nothing bad. It just felt like, oh, what was the point of this? Yeah. Did you feel that way?
Not too much. I think even though it had all those other themes, the not, letting your past go and stuff. Yeah. Like, I feel like that was the most present.
It was the most present,
like, being a good father. Mm-hmm. But I think all the other ones were subtle enough that it didn't take over.
It didn't take over. No. Like, you definitely walked away from the film saying, like, let go of your past. Mm-hmm. But it felt like if he just stuck with that, I'm not going to spoil like why the theme was letting go of your past, but it felt like the theme behind it, the almost the arbiter for the way the movie should progress, the catalyst. I'm sorry, not the arbiter, the catalyst of how the movie should move forward. It should have been used more in the film. It should have haunted him more in the film. However, it was just kind of like a little taste of it.
Yeah, it felt more like he just kept getting reminded, like little reminders.
If the reminder...
Like he couldn't get that chip off his shoulder.
Yeah, if that reminder... I feel like this film could have been fixed if that catalyst was just what it was. It was a catalyst. It would have been...
It weighed him down more than they showed.
But instead, it was just kind of like, oh, do you remember the intro of the movie? No. Well, here it is again, just to remind you. Okay, yeah, I remember. Thank you. It wasn't like the presence of the film. So let's go into our final ratings. What did you give it?
I gave it a 6.
Why did you give it a 6? That is just above average.
Yeah, because I really enjoyed it. It was a good movie. And I enjoyed it. So I didn't think it was so incredible that it was like a 7 or 8 where I was like, yeah, that was good. Yeah. It was more of like, that was a good movie.
Yeah, it was fine.
It was all right.
And that's why I gave it a 5 out of 10. Now, this isn't a bad 5 out of 10. Sometimes I see an average film and it's just like, it's so basic. Why did it even make a film? Yeah. But I gave it a 5 because this was a solid intro to Idris's director's career. It was fine. Everything was textbook. Everything was, nothing was wrong, but everything was very textbook. Yeah. And something I haven't seen before. However, he did nothing wrong. Yeah. That's why I gave it a 5. Now, let's go into whether we recommend it or not. Mine is kind of complicated. Would you recommend this to anybody?
Yeah. I mean, it would depend on what that person's into. Yeah. But I mean, I think this is a movie that anyone can sit down and enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if Idris Elba was taken out of the equation, I feel like I would be less interested. But I was more interested to see how Idris handled this directing path. Yeah. That's what I was really interested in. And that's why I don't necessarily want to say that I recommend it for everybody, because if you're kind of picky about your movies and you've seen a lot of mafia, quote unquote mafia movies, it's okay. However, if you're a supporter of Idris Elba and you really want to see where his career is going, I highly recommend this movie because he did a solid job. But if you're just watching this as a movie, like you're scrolling through Amazon Prime, like, oh, should I watch this? It's okay. It's fine. There's nothing bad, and it's only an hour and 48 minutes. It's not like a 2.5 hour film.
Yeah, so it's not like it's a huge commitment.
Yeah. So I recommend it, but not like a strong recommendation. Not like Borg versus McEnroe that we saw last week. Highly recommend that film.
Yeah.
This one, it was just kind of like, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that does it for this segment. But again, the movie is called Yardie. It is a Prime original, and it was the directorial debut of Idris Elba.
Yes.
So definitely give that a watch if you're interested in it and the way we rated it. But yeah, so let's just do it. Let's just go into our second segment.
Top 3 Gaming News.
The top 3 gaming news is the gaming news that we saw in the past week, and we like to rate it 3, 2, 1 of what we found interesting during the week, just to keep you informed about the gaming industry. So let's start off with number 3, and this is a Destiny 2 piece of news. So those who are really into Destiny 2, now that Activision has their hands off of Bungie, Bungie is now taking control, and this is actually a pretty great story. So let's read this. Bungie postpones Destiny 2 fixes to the Lord of Wolves shotgun to preserve work-life balance of the development team. So Bungie had made plans to nerf the overpowered new shotgun called the Lord of Wolves for better player versus player balance. However, it has been delayed to later in July to support this work-life balance of their development team. So before we discuss this, I want to read some quotes from creative director Luke Smith, who has this to say. He said that he had some discussions within saying that, is it worth it doing that? Or is it better to preserve the work-life balance of our development team and ship it later in July? To ask a team to do that kind of thing back to back, full disclosure, it's not something we really want to do. We try to be really careful about stuff like that. So it sounds like creative director Luke Smith is really careful to not burn out his team. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty. There's always some stresses when it comes to game developments. Right?
Oh, yeah.
You probably will have to do some overtime. However, what this quote, the very first quote, is it worth it doing that? So he's trying to say that, like, okay, we can patch it. We can try to do everything we can, but they've just done a patch back to back to back. Is this Lord of Wolves shotgun so important that we need to dismantle the work-life balance?
Yeah.
So I like that quote. Is it worth it? What do you think when you read this?
I think it's good because, especially in this past year, we've had so many stories about companies overworking their development teams and people having to go to therapy or quit their jobs and things like that, where they're just so overworked because the demand is so high in the video game industry. It's killing the developers.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good example that they're setting, saying like, that isn't how we wanted to run this, and we're going to do it the right way now.
Right.
And our employees are more important than making money, and I think that's right, because you're not going to make money if you're going to lose all of your good employees.
Right.
You're going to end up with, scraping the bottom of the barrel, and people aren't going to want to work for you if you're known for that. Yeah. So in the long run, I still think it's more even financially beneficial for them to take longer to do things.
Yeah. So like you said, I think this is a really feel good way, and it's definitely financially supporting the company in general.
Yeah.
And what I like about this is that this is like further proof that once Activision has their hands off of it, creative director Luke Smith is just very keen on being really careful about their mental health.
Yeah. And and the two of us are very big supporters of keeping mental health on top. Like that's one of the most important things. Exactly.
Because if you don't have your mental health in check, your work is going to be less efficient. So we put this at number 3 because it's a quick story, and we highly support Bungie in this decision.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So If you're a Destiny 2 player, definitely, give us your thoughts about this story. Do you think the lore of Wolf's shotgun is way too overpowered that they should have just patched this? Or do you support that, like, it wasn't so bad? Is it worth it? Can they just patch it in July?
Yeah.
So definitely give your thoughts on that. Let's just move into number 2. And this is pretty interesting that Xbox has just come out to say that, well, actually they have not officially confirmed it, but rumors have said it that Xbox will only release one console, the Anaconda, the beefier system, in Project Scarlet. Now, if you didn't know, Project Scarlet is not the name of the console that they're releasing, but Project Scarlet was the overall vision of the next generation. They had 2 systems in mind. The beefier system, that was the Anaconda, and then the less beefier, like the more cost-effective system called the Lockhart. And this has all come under Project Scarlet. Mm-hmm. Now, Project Scarlet is one console. So this is coming from a report from Thurrott.com, and Microsoft has shifted focus from 2 consoles and has scrapped the ideas for Project Lockhart. Phil Spencer has joked with Business Insider that he said consoles, as in plural, we're releasing consoles in the next generation. But then he joked like, well, we already released a console, the Xbox One X. So that's what we really meant. However, the evidence is still standing that Lockhart existed at one point. Mm-hmm. Now, some sources state that Lockhart was actually scrapped merely weeks ago, before E3 even happened. Right. So this is a fresh idea. Lockhart existed and then they scrapped ideas. It was scrapped due to developer issues because they tried to develop next gen titles for the Anaconda, but it also had to work for the Lockhart. So it was developer issues with that and a bigger focus on xCloud onto the Anaconda. So I'm actually supportive of this idea. Do you have any thoughts on this?
So assuming that, because before the rumor was that one console you'd be able to play physical discs in, and the other one was going to be all cloud or streaming based games.
I don't think Lockhart was officially said that it didn't have a disk drive, but I think that was
the rumor.
I think that was the rumor. And what it was is that it would be almost like the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X. Whereas Lockhart was the S and Anaconda is the X. So that there you have a more cost efficient, if you didn't want like the 8K rendering, blah, 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 you have a more cost effective system. I would imagine that would be disc free, the Lockhart.
Yeah. So that's what I was kind of going off of. So in that sense, like it's okay. Honestly, to me, it feels like more of a power move in their mind. Yeah. Because they see what PlayStation is planning for their next generation. Yeah. And they're just like, no, we need to go all in on this big one. Yeah. And put everything into it, even if it's more expensive. So I think this was more of a personal decision on their end than thinking about what their community might want or need. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I understand it, but to me, it seems mostly like a power move where they got very scared and very nervous. Yeah. And so they're just like, forget it. We're doing the big one. We're doing the expensive one. We're putting all in, and it's going to be real expensive.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be super
all
expensive.
I'm hearing is dollar signs as this article goes on, just dollar signs.
And I am very supportive by this idea. From working in GameStop and when the Wii U started to come out, I would have people always coming in because of the name Wii U. And they would always ask me, like the average customer, they would always ask me, is like, well, what's the difference between the Wii and the Wii U? Like, can I just get the Wii and play Wii U games on the Wii? And they would just be confused. And I had to explain, no, it's the Wii U is the next gen and the Wii is the past gen. So if you want the new system, it's almost like the 360, the Xbox One. And I tried to explain this, but they're like, why the Wii U? There's no differential. So let's say two consoles came out. And the average customer comes in and says, wait, which one should I buy? Is the Xbox Lockhart the same as Xbox One? Is it just a newer model? And the average consumer will not tell the difference. Us gamers, have been following this rule. We've been following this news, and we'd be like, oh, that's Lockhart. That's Anaconda. But, Soccer Mom comes in, and her son wants like the
Soccer
news.
Mom doesn't know the difference between the 360 and the X.
Yeah, don't get me started about that.
Let's not use that one as an example.
Yeah, I once had.
They don't understand the difference between the PlayStation and the Xbox at all.
Yeah, exactly. I once had a mom ask me, like, can I get the Mario game on the Xbox? And I was like, oh, man.
Nope, that's not how it works.
Yeah. So,
But then again, I didn't know that either probably until we got married. So I don't blame her for that one.
So I'm supportive of this idea. I think this will be beneficial for them. And maybe they'll release the Lockhart a little bit later in time once the Anaconda has room to breathe. But to release it two at the same time, that would have been overwhelming for the consumer.
Yeah, I feel like it might end up, like you said, being kind of like how they did the Xbox One, then they did the X and the S. So maybe they'll do the Anaconda and then
the Lockhart.
Later on they'll release the Lockhart as like, look, this is like an updated, different type of idea.
And cheaper.
Yeah, like a different idea to kind of like,
But yeah, so that's our thoughts on it. Let's just move on to our number one gaming news. I want you to guess, audience, what the number one gaming news is. Can you guess it? We might surprise you with this one. It's a surprise mechanic within the podcast.
You're adorable.
Oh, yes, audience. We're talking about it. EA's loot boxes are actually surprise mechanics. And Fortnite is not about making money at all. We're just dumb. I know. Mind blown. So this is coming from a UK Parliament's treaty, or not treaty. I don't know what the word is. But the UK Parliament called in representatives from EA and Epic Games to basically call them out, that's saying like, listen, your monetizations, your loot boxes, the way you make money off your games is not in it's not
moral.
Yeah, it's not moral. It's not in with the laws of the European market. And we're calling you out for it, basically. So this is coming from a UK Parliament hearing, and Kerry Hopkins, who is a EA executive, they started to ask her, well, don't you think loot boxes are more like gambling? Like, what do you think about this? And with a serious face, Kerry Hopkins, she says, well, we at EA don't call them loot boxes. We call them surprise mechanics. And the representative laughed, or like the representative from UK Parliament actually laughed, and she said, no, seriously, surprise mechanics, because people love surprises. If you look through the toy industry, you have things like Hatchimals and the LOL surprise and the Kinder eggs. You know, people like surprises, and it's quite ethical.
Yeah, for things that cost 99 cents.
Yeah, they say it's quite ethical, and people enjoy the element of surprise. So before we get to our second notes, surprise, like what do you think of that? Like you watched the hearing.
I understand
where she's coming
from in her example as defense.
Right.
Like, I disagree.
It's a dumb argument.
But I understand her argument, and where she sees that does back up, because the things like the little Lego dudes that you don't know what you're getting in the bag, or the Kinder things. Yeah. That those are cheap. Hatchimals are not cheap. Yeah. They were the big present to get 2 years ago at Christmas. Yeah. And you didn't know what you were getting. Yeah. Especially if you had more than one, you could be getting the exact same stuffed animal. Right. So I do understand where she's thinking on that, like that was a more expensive thing. But when it comes to those things, usually the parent is buying them. Yeah. Like you're out at Target or the toy store or something, and like, oh, look here. Like, or the Hatchimal, like adults are buying those things. These kids, you're not having 10-year-olds going to the store and getting them themselves. Right. Most times. And they're not going to the store every day to get it. Yeah. Whereas video games, the kids are playing those every day and not with supervision most of the time. And so that's where it's different. It's like these kids don't have supervision. They can do this every day if they want to. And yeah, totally. Even if it is their own money as a teenager. Yeah. They still have access to it every day. There was somebody who was just in the news not too long ago that looked up his
spending purchases on FIFA, I believe, FIFA or Madden, and he ended up spending $10,000, and I think in 2 or 3 years, $10,000.
Yeah, so to say that a kid doesn't have access to that ability, you know, is kind of crazy. Like I said, even with a teenager, even if they had their own job and they were spending their own money,
which we know kids who do that.
Exactly. You know, that's still not safe practices because they need to be taught the value of a dollar, but their parents don't even know that they're spending that money on that console.
Yeah.
So they don't know. Like, I mean, I know when I was younger, I spent all my money on Wawa. So.
Yeah, true.
Like, I'm sure my mom didn't agree with that, but at least it was food. I was feeding myself.
Floki, do you want to get on? There you go. But yeah, I didn't like her example from there because you don't spend $60 to get into Toys R Us. You don't spend $60 to get into the toy store. And that's the thing. Like, these are Kinder eggs. Like, you get like a little piece of plastic, but you also get chocolate or something like that.
That you know you're getting. Exactly.
I didn't like her example. It was very condescending.
Yeah. And again, even going back to your point where you don't spend $60 to get into Toys R Us.
Yeah.
You know, so that you can buy the $5 toy.
Yeah.
You know, like these people are already purchasing a game for a lot of money. And then you're asking them to spend more money to play the game. Like,
yeah.
That's insane.
That's kind of dumb. My second note here is that Epic was also there. Epic Games, who is the makers of Fortnite, Epic representatives also stated, now they started to ask Epic, well, how do you defend, you know, kids spending money on your games? There was a child in, I think they said London. That spent 1,600 pounds on Fortnite in a day.
Yeah.
In a day. And Epic responded by saying they don't know their player base, which I'll get to back in a little bit. I forgot about that. But they also don't make any money off of their free-to-play Fortnite. They started to say, like, well, we don't make money. And they sounded like that, like, well,
they stumbled over every word.
We don't make any money off Fortnite is free to play. So there's no money being made. I'm like, oh, my goodness. Stop. And so they also started to say, well, how many frequent players do you have? And the Epic representatives are like, oh, we actually don't know that number. I mean, how do you define frequent? And then they started to like poke Epic, UK Parliament, like, well, give us an answer. And Epic said, okay, fine, within 2 weeks or 30 days. And then they said, okay, within the 2 weeks and 30 days, how many frequent players do you have? Oh, I don't know that information. They're like, bull crap. Like, you don't know. And so then I believe the Prime Minister, I should really know these things, but the representatives for the UK Parliament were saying, listen, we've had video game companies come here before, and they've given us their information. Now, the fact that you haven't given us any information, Your Highness, makes it highly suspicious.
Yeah.
It makes it highly suspicious towards us that you're doing something shady. If you had nothing to hide, you would just tell us. You wouldn't just say surprise mechanics. You wouldn't say that you don't know your player base. You would stop lying that you don't make any money off of Fortnite.
Yeah.
Because Epic Games is rich. So it was just super, super shady the way they were presenting themselves. It made them look like the bad guys. It made them look like they were smuggling drugs from like another country. And that's just it, is that with this whole thing, EA and Epic squirmed in their seats and they were stumbling over their words, and Parliament knew this was shady. They saw them on their lies, and do not be surprised that this will always be known as like the game changer for microtransactions and loot boxes. Changes will be made from this.
Yeah. Because
now UK is getting involved and saying like, okay, this is super shady. We need to investigate this even further. So if you want to look it up, it's on YouTube. It's about a little bit over 2 hours of a hearing. But trust us, you want to see them squirm in their seats. It's super, super shady. But do you have any final thoughts on what we saw?
Y'all should just really watch it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like I can't say the way Carrie Hopkins said it. It's surprise mechanics. Like she said it on the spot. I was like, oh my goodness, you got to stop that. And EA to say that, like, yeah, no, we're very ethical about it. Like, oh, you stop it.
Yeah.
Especially Epic when they said, now, final story on this, that they don't make any money off their free-to-play Fortnite. And yeah, you can argue, Fortnite, you can get exactly what you want. Fortnite, you can spend what you want. I have a student in my youth ministry, and I've said this before.
Mm-hmm, we've shared this.
He has spent over $500 on Fortnite.
Yeah,
and
so don't say you don't make any money off of it.
And when I asked him, I was like, are you kidding me? He's like, not as much, my friend. My friend has spent $800 on Fortnite. I was like, what? So don't tell me that you don't make any money. Because that's...
It might be a free-to-play game, but kids can still buy things.
And there was a kid in the UK who spent £1,600 in a day. In one day.
That's crazy.
So this is going to make some changes in the gaming industry. Some good changes, but we'll see what comes of this. I'm very excited about what will be made, but I think this will be the hearing that changes everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think this is a good time to move into our final segment.
Talkie time.
The Talkie Time segment is where we bring up a topic in the gaming industry. We like to just talk about it for the next half hour or so and just to have a little bit of conversation about what's going on in the gaming industry, what's on our minds. Mm-hmm. So today's topic is all about, does gaming make you fat? So this is actually an idea that was not given to us, but we watched a Review Tech USA video and he had the same topic and he had some articles linked. So I decided to read those articles and I thought, we had a lot to say on the topic as well. Do video games make you fat? And I want to go over some highlights from the articles. And I will link those articles in this podcast as well as the YouTube video. But the first article reads, do video games drive obesity? Now, some highlights that I have, you can read the whole article linked below. But in adults, there is a slight positive correlation between playing video games and body mass. This was given with a study with 20 relevant studies with 38,000 participants, and the analysis revealed only a small correlation between video game playing and exercise weight and body mass. Only 1% of a person's overweight can thus be attributed to time spent playing computer games. They call it computer games. There's no link to children and teenagers. The link was only established for adults. Now, this is the point that I really want to say here. It may be, now this is a direct quote, it may be that the people who are overweight are more likely to continue their hobby of playing video games during the transition of adulthood, whereas new leisure time activities become more important for others. Saying that, like, you know, if you want to stay in your childish hobby of video games, you might be overweight. But, you know, some people, you know, more established people will continue a new leisure time, you know, with sports and exercise, blah, blah, blah. That one of the studiers has said. Sedentary media consumption has also been associated. But the last points are, we identified a significant indirect effect, which shows that people who spend more time playing video games, no duh, also less time exercising, no duh, therefore weigh more and have more body mass. Wow. Other factors include junk food, non-verified, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Only sedentary video games were studied. Non-active video games like Pokemon Go were taken into consideration. Now, before we get into the next article, what did you think about that?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So much. It's just kind of frustrating because really all they're saying is that video games aren't making you fat.
Yeah.
It's that it's more common for adult video game players to lead unhealthy lifestyles.
Yeah.
It's not the video games that are making them fat. It's just that is one of the things in their lives that isn't the healthiest option. Like, these people aren't going to the gym, eating healthy, and then they're sitting around playing video games for 5 hours.
Right.
Like, of course, all those things added up, you're going to be overweight.
Yeah.
But it's not the video games that are making them fat. And I'm so tired of hearing articles about this.
Yeah.
Year after year after year. Like, people want to, like, make video games into this evil thing, whether it's like they're making people fat or they're violent. Like video games can't make people anything.
Yeah, when they say that, like, oh, there is a correlation, I'm like, yeah, but it's the sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah.
That, you know, you can be overweight by watching too many football games. You can be overweight watching too much Netflix.
Someone who loves to watch sports and all isn't automatically healthy. There's people who love to watch sports and are well overweight. Because they're still just sitting.
Yeah, and the quote that I was most mad about is that it may be that people who are overweight are more likely to continue their hobby of playing video games during a transition to adulthood.
Yeah, like...
During their transition into adulthood, they decide to continue their childish hobby.
We've talked about this before with adult video gaming. Like... It's the same as every hobby.
Yeah, and so, like, whereas new leisure time activities become more important for others.
Like, no one yells at or gets frustrated with movie buffs as an adult.
Exactly.
Like, and being a movie buff is the same thing as being a video gamer.
Yeah,
like,
and it will make you fat.
Apparently.
Yeah.
You know?
But
no one, like, hates on them. I know this is for a whole other subject, but still, it bothers me.
Now, like I said, the whole article is more about a sedentary lifestyle.
Yes.
If you sit down and just play video games,
of course.
That's it. You know?
Of course you're going to be overweight.
Exactly. But it's the same way of any other sedentary lifestyle. If you read too many books and don't go to the gym, if you watch too many movies and you don't go to the gym.
You could work out and eat a bunch of junk food all day. Guess what? You're not going to lose weight.
Exactly. And in the gym I go to, I see it all the time. And it's just like, well... Because
we also have people at our gym who drink coffee while they work out, and if you do that, I'm sorry, we can't be friends. That's disgusting.
Like I saw a dude today when I was at the gym. He had like a Dunkin' Donuts latte. I was like, why? But
that's so disgusting.
But anytime someone asks me,
do that,
because I'm at the gym and I'm in okay shape. What I love is that people say, "What are you, 180?" I'm like, "No, I'm actually 210." I'm like, wow. But
yeah, like you're all muscle. Like that's a heavier weight, but it's because it's all muscle.
But people ask me, it's like, well, like, what do you work out? And I ask them right back, what are you eating? Like, it's straight up, like, it's
what you eat.
What are you eating? But before we get into the next article, I just want to give, last bit of just thoughts on the first article. And that's the thing. It only focused on the sedentary lifestyle. It was time spent playing video games, Now, this is my final thought on this article, where I will defend them. I will play devil's advocate. Time spent playing. Now, the reason why I can defend that video games specifically and not sports or movies, somewhat, I'm playing devil's advocate here, is that more and more times is that you are playing video games for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
Like I said, in college, when I first got Skyrim, I was like, oh, I'll play this for an hour or two. And it was like 9 hours later. It's like, oops.
Yeah. The video game is a longer investment in time.
Yeah. But so is Netflix,
It is, like, especially binge watchers. Like,
yeah. So of course that, like, yeah, it's a time spent playing video games. It's a time spent. And yes, video games will take you in a trance and they will have you in for a longer period. Because games can last like 20 hours, 40 hours, 200 hours. So, yeah, sure. I will defend it on that point. But what really gets me about this article is that quotation, is that people who are overweight are more likely to continue their hobby as they transition to be adults. And I'm just like, you can stop it. Now, there's another article. It's a lengthier article. And I just want to give my highlights here. Again, I will link this in below. You can read it in full. But it's about a new report shows that U.S. obesity epidemic continues to worsen. Obesity continues to be a problem in the United States. Therefore, addressing obesity epidemic remains imperative for ensuring the health of the nation. Now, again, I want to just brief highlights here because it's like a 4-page article. So again, I highly recommend that you read this article because it's really well written. It's saying that some states between 2016 and 2017, adult obesity prevalence has increased in 6 states. Those states being Iowa, Massachusetts, Ohio, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, and South Carolina. Adult obesity prevalence has increased. However, 7 states... Oh, never mind. Sorry. Yeah. In addition, more than 1/4 of the nation's country has reported obesity rates of 35% or higher. Adult obesity rates ranged from 13% in Eagle County, Colorado, to 48% in Macon County, Alabama. So Colorado has the least amounts of body fat. In 48 states, obesity prevalence more than 25%. Lowest obesity. Now, this is what I was surprised about. Lowest obesity rates were in Colorado, District of Columbia, and Hawaii. So that was cool. I'm trying to look through this just to see if there's anything else important to go. Oh, here we go. Physical activity. Kentucky at 34.4% had the highest percentage of adults who are physically inactive. The state of Washington and Colorado had the lowest percentage of people who are inactive. So again, physical activity, physical inactivity. Talking about gaming. Sure, gaming will make you inactive if you decide to make it inactive.
Yeah.
Right? So those are my thoughts about the article. There's more points to this, but I want to get to the conversation. It's more important to not be afraid to address a series of small changes, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so definitely read these articles because it's an interesting read. So I want to briefly go over my brief fitness journey and gaming. So I was originally 315 pounds, right? But I could lift a lot. I had like an offensive end body. I could, block somebody.
Yeah.
But I was also playing a lot of video games. I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't doing anything because all I was doing was playing video games. And I still remember I was playing, I think it was Gears of War, and I was drinking Dr. Pepper, and I spilled Dr. Pepper on myself. And I remember thinking, I was like, oh my goodness, this needs to stop, because I felt sticky and I felt like ashamed. I was like, this is not good.
And that was the other thing. You weren't working out, you were playing video games, and you were eating a lot of junk. Like, you were never a sweets person, but I like my fried foods. You do. You liked your soda and you liked your pizza. He still likes the soda and his pizza, just not as much.
Now, I said this is a brief fitness journey. Later on, I started to get more and more into fitness. However, the more I got into fitness, the less I gamed. But it wasn't like, oh, well, I'll focus on fitness and gaming. I started to see gaming is the reason why I got fat. And that's what I started to tell myself. I need to play sports. I need to play basketball. I need to do all this because it was video games that made me fat.
Yeah.
It was video games that...
So it was people who wrote these articles that put that in your head, that made you think it's the video game's fault, not that I was eating a ton of junk.
So I started to play way less video games because I was like, oh, that was the issue. Because I was playing too many video games. But then I got more and more into my fitness journey. I got close to 100 pounds loss. But I really missed gaming. I really did. And that was just it. I was just like, is it really gaming, or is it because I was sitting down too much? I was gaming too much. You can drink too much. You can do a lot of things too much. You can exercise too much.
You can.
And it will you will overpower your body. Not overpower. You'll overstimulate your muscles. You might rip a muscle like I did deadlifting. But that's the start of the thing. I started to think that video games were the problem. I started playing less video games. But now I have this balance. It brings me to today where I have this balance of I'm in the gym 6 days a week, but I'm also playing video games 7 days a week. Yeah. But that's just it. I'm starting to see this balance. It was from the Buff Dudes, who might have gotten from another quote, but you spend an hour in the gym. What are you doing with those 23 hours? Yeah. Was my diet okay while I was playing video games? Was my exercise still on points? Am I putting my priorities into check? Exactly. And that's the thing. It was priorities, exercise was first. Video games were second. Liz was third. No, I'm just kidding. But there's a lot more priorities, but it was prioritizing your life. Yeah. And that's what got me to today. Right now, I'm doing the Chris Hemsworth workout plan. I'm trying to get more in shape. I'm trying to bodybuild at this point, but I'm still playing a lot of video games. Yeah. It's just about balance. Yeah. Right? So, I mean, you were married to me when I started to game a little bit more, and I also gained a lot of weight. Remember when you came in and I was always playing Skyrim?
Yeah, that was annoying.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't the fact that you're playing video games. It was the fact that I woke up in the morning and I came over into the cottage and he'd be playing video games. I'm like,
Yeah.
You literally just woke up.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to have breakfast, not watch you play video games while I eat breakfast. Like,
Yeah.
I would walk in and he was already video gaming in the morning. I was like, can you like take a break?
Never.
Maybe.
But that's just it. Is that like I started to play video games a little bit more because then after I started to say, oh, maybe video games weren't the problem, and I started to get back into gaming too much and actually gained 30 pounds.
Yeah, you were forgetting to make that time to work out.
Exactly. So
But now, I mean, you work out every day and you could still play 3-4 hours of video games and be fine.
Exactly.
Because you're making that time in the morning, that 1 hour to go to the gym.
Yeah, just 1 hour a day, 6 days a week, and that's just it. And I have some tips for you. If you are just starting to work out, I got some good tips for you. But yeah, just continuing this conversation is that gaming could be linked because of the amount of time spent playing.
Yeah.
Right? If you prioritize in the morning, right, instead of going to the gym, you just want to play more of your game. If you never exercise ever, yeah, you're going to gain some weight. And that's just it. It's the obesity, but it's the same way of anything. If you don't go to the gym and you decide, oh, I just want to read a book instead, you're going to gain weight.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't say that. Here's the thing. I hated this because it said, like, oh, it's a small correlation between video game playing and exercise. No, the correlation is
sitting on your butt for 7 hours and not going to the gym ever.
You don't burn more calories reading a book.
Or knitting.
More than you play video games. It's all the same. And I hated that. I hated the way they quoted that because there is no correlations between games and gaining weight. It's the correlation of sitting down too much.
Yeah.
And never going to the gym. Right? And that's the thing. But I will defend them that say that, sure, games are more of a time investment. I will say that because Skyrim is life. However, and once Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, Elder Scrolls 6 will be life. But it's just a matter of priorities.
Yeah.
Now let's even go into this. Video games can also be linked with broken families.
Oh, yeah.
I can totally say that, because here's the other thing. Yeah, you prioritize your exercise. Do you prioritize video games over your family? Mm-hmm. Do I prioritize video games over Liz?
No.
Yeah, no. But that's just the thing. Is that you could honestly do a study and say, video games are linked to broken families.
Yeah.
No. Like a jerk, like a dillweed.
Yeah,
will be like
people who prioritize their hobbies over their families is what makes broken families, not video games.
Like I still remember, and I might have said this on the podcast already, during that huge storm during, I want to say 2015 or 2016, it was a massive storm. It was like 2 or 3 feet of snow in Philadelphia. And I remember I still had to walk to GameStop to go to work because GameStop is greedy. But I still had to walk there. And I was like, no one's going to come in. It's 3 feet of snow. No one's going to come in. This guy drove in a massive snowstorm in a truck. He came in and said, hey, I got $80 to my name. My daughters are driving me crazy. I need a game system. And I was like thinking, oh, you need a game system for your daughters. No. He needs a game system for him.
To entertain him so he doesn't have to focus on his daughters.
Exactly. That was exactly the situation. And he pulled out 100 and he said, well, I need 20s for a carton of cigarettes or like a pack of cigarettes. I was like, what? He only had $80 to his name. And that's the thing. Like right there, I can say like, oh, video games lead to broken families because this guy's a dillweed. No, it's just that people are dillweeds.
Yeah.
People are lazy. That's why they gain weight. That's just it. It's not anything to do with video games or anything else. It's just that your priorities need to be in check.
Yeah.
That's just it. So as I promised you, I want to give some brief tips of how you can get started. If you're playing video games and you don't want to go into the gym, you don't want to be. And by the way, if you go into the gym and they start to make fun of you because you're just starting out, ignore them.
They're jerks.
They are. I like to help out anybody that I can in the gym. But the one thing I want to recommend is that if you want to start running, there's an app called Zombies Run, and I've been using it for a while, maybe like 2 or 3 years. Zombies Run is there's a light version and a paid version. The paid version is $25 per year, and you get all the episodes. But as you're running, you get this story in your ear, and you're running away from zombies, and you're trying to build up Able Township. And as you're running, it's really hard to explain through a podcast. But as you're running, you'll start to hear a bottle of water collected, a pack of underwear collected, and you start to run more and more, and you get more and more supplies. And with those supplies in the app, you can build up Able Township with the supplies that you have. So it's like a video game as you run. You level up.
And you don't have to run. You can walk, and then when it says that you're running from zombies, then you run. Like, you can do it and just be walking. Yeah,
there's a thing that says, like, a warning, zombies approaching, and you have to run a little bit faster to get away from the zombies, because if the zombies get you, their supplies are gone.
Yeah, so you can even do it at your pace. You don't have to run. You can go from a walk to a speed walk to a jog, and then slow back down to a walk once the zombies are gone.
Yeah.
So that's where it's nice, is because you can literally do it on any level that you're at.
Yeah, exactly. And I highly recommend that app. If you want to just start running and play video games at the same time, and I don't mean to say like that, like, video gaming, but
it works.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I run once a week, and I do like a 3-mile run, 4-mile run sometimes, and I use the Zombie Runs app, and I just go.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. And you can put on your Spotify playlist, so when they're not talking, your Spotify playlist keeps going. So definitely check out that app. It's called Zombies Run. It's on the iOS, on Android, so definitely check that out. # not sponsored. But something more practical, something I do before I go to the gym is what it's called is fasted low impact cardio. So what this basically is that I wake up in the morning, and before I eat breakfast, before I do anything, I wake up, I put on my walking shoes, and I go for a 30-minute walk.
Yeah.
That's it, a 30-minute walk, and I come back home, eat breakfast, then go to the gym. The reason why it needs to be fasted, you just wake up, put on your walking shoes, just walk for 30 minutes every day. And what this is doing is that because there's no calories already in your body, the very first thing you're letting your body do is your heart rate gets a little bit more up. The metabolism of your body starts to activate in the morning. And so if you do this for a month, you're going to start to see gradual results. All you do is like put on an audiobook or put on your favorite podcast. Hey, what's up? How you doing? And just start walking for half an hour. And that's it. And then once you come home, eat breakfast. And if you don't have time to go to the gym, at least you got some motion in.
Yeah.
30 minutes.
And if you're just starting out, that can be a lot. Like, I remember when I was younger, my mom, her first steps in working out were just going on a walk after dinner.
Yeah.
You know, she went on a mile walk after dinner, and she lost a ton of weight doing that.
Yeah.
You know, so
that's just it.
Simply walking can do so much.
Yeah. If you just walk, that's it.
All I do.
Yeah. If you just start walking and you have a proper diet. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I also eat pretty healthy. So.
Yeah. The other thing I can advise you is that look up on YouTube. There's a lot of fitness gurus on YouTube, but I personally have been following for years Buff Dudes. Now, it's an acronym, BUFF, Better Understanding of Food and Fitness. The Buff Dudes, they're gamers. They always do like 80s references. They're super funny, and they have great workout plans. I just got done with their cutting plan, which is a booklet. They also have a dumbbells only workout plan. They're just super funny guys. They're super genuine. One of them's a dad. The other one's a bachelor. But they're brothers, and it's just super fun to watch. But they have great workout plans. Another site I can recommend if you really hate yourself, it's called Derby.com. It used to be known as NeilArray.com. They have like gaming themes, no equipment required workouts.
Yeah, so if you don't want to go to the gym and you want to stay home, they have all like
no equipment
body
workouts.
weight workouts.
Yeah. I used to do them, and then I stopped because Some of them are like really difficult.
Yeah, they can be really difficult, but they tell you that like this is more this is
like
on
this
this
in
level.
advanced, this is in a beginner.
Yeah, so they have the specific ones, and that they are how you kind of got started out.
Mm-hmm.
And when we didn't have the money for a gym membership,
it worked
did
the
for
other way.
you. Yeah.
Or now it's called Derby.
Yeah.
I actually haven't checked on it in a while, but they also have recipes of foods you can eat. So.
Yeah, they have like a ton of stuff. It's a really cool website.
Yeah. But that's just the thing. There's so many different ideas, but like just to wrap it up with that, Zombies Run, definitely check that out. Do fasted walking every morning. Just put on your shoes, walk. You can, if you have a treadmill at home, just walk on your treadmill for half an hour.
Yeah.
The very first thing as you wake up, just go on a walk.
Yeah.
That's it. Even if you do this 4 days a week, that's totally fine. But there's also workout plans that are 3 day a week workout plans. So you can go to the gym 3 days a week out of the 4 days, right? And what I'm trying to get at is that prioritize.
Yeah.
If you're okay with yourself, if you don't want to lose weight, if you're fine, we're not trying to say that everybody needs to be in the peak shape, Arnold Schwarzenegger, but we're not trying to say that. But what we're trying to say is that these articles that are saying that video games are linked to obesity and that the inactivity rate, especially in Kentucky, I'm not surprised. Sorry, Kentucky. We love you, but but yeah, with all these articles saying that video games are linked to obesity rising, that's such a lie.
Yeah,
it's just a sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah,
and that's just it. There's so many different ways where you can get your body moving with such easy ways. I'm at the level right now where I'm doing the Chris Hemsworth workout plan, and pretty soon I want to try to do that dumbbell only workout plan from Buff Dudes. Last thing I'll say about the Buff Dudes: if you ever buy their workout plans, what's really awesome is that it levels you up a little bit more. So when you do a workout plan, first it's 3 days a week, and you do that for 3 or 4 weeks. Then it becomes 4 days a week, then 5 days a week, and
so
then
it's not just throwing you into working out 7 days a week.
Yeah, it just gradually levels you up. Levels up. Video games, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, geez.
But that's just it, is that we're trying to say that don't believe these articles to say that because video games is because fat.
Yeah.
Video games don't make you fat. Just sitting down and doing nothing like gets you overweight. Like I said, once I started to play video games again with my fitness journey, I started to lose weight and I said, oh wait, video games weren't the thing. And then I went too much into video games and I gained 30 pounds.
Yeah.
And that's just it. It's just a balance. It's not video games. It's just what you're prioritizing. So my last note is that it's not that gaming. It's just a lack of exercise. But my last point to you, if you want to remember anything, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to get fit, do not believe the magic pill.
Please don't.
You ever see those where it's just like saying, like, if you just take this supplement, if you just wear this fitness belt, if you just do this, if you blah, 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 blah. And it seems too good to be true.
It is.
It is. Don't buy into it. It's simply, now it doesn't work for everybody. I understand that there's variables here, but it's your basic calories in, calories out.
Yeah. What
calories are you putting in and what calories are you giving out? There's also an app called MyFitnessPal, and you can keep track of your calories, and it will give you extra calories during the day if you do workouts. So definitely check out MyFitnessPal to keep track of your calories. But it is just basically calories in, calories out. Are you intaking more calories than you're giving out? So if your diet is only, my calorie count is 3,000 per day.
Yeah.
That's because I work out 6 days a week. So my calorie intake has to remain at 3,000. If I eat 4,000, I'm going to be fat. But that's just it. Do you have any final thoughts on all this?
Not really. It seems like we've said everything we need to say without becoming a fitness podcast.
Yeah. No, I'm highly passionate about fitness.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm actually going to be reviewing, not on this podcast, but I'm going to be reviewing some new equipment from Gym Maniac. They have a fantastic weightlifting belt. It's the cheapest, best. It's the best budget workout belts. Totally not sponsored, but they actually are sending me some equipment to review, but it wasn't sponsored. They're just saying, do you want to try these out? I'm like, yes. But they're sending me some lifting straps as well as a new gym bag, which I've been dying to get.
Yeah.
But that's just it. Is that like, don't ever believe that somebody's telling you that like it's because of video games that you're fat. And if somebody calls you fat, by the way,
punch him in the face.
I didn't say it. You did. I was going to say, give him a hug. Be
No,
like,
you weren't.
I'm going to say,
I don't know what you're going to say, but I wasn't going to give him a hug.
give
Punch
him
in
a
the face.
hug. You know, give him a nice fluffy hug.
Jeez.
But that's just it. Is that like, there's things you can do, but it's not video games. It's just prioritizing. And if you work out too much and you don't enjoy it, that's too much for you then.
Mm-hmm.
But I highly advise Zombies Run and just going for a fasted walk in the morning. It's like perfect.
Yeah.
It's a great way to start the day. And if you need any more fitness advice, definitely message us or email us. You can message us at contact@gamesandgroceries.com or gamesandgroceries@gmail.com. We have 2 emails. Or you can just message us on Twitter,
Yep.
Tweet at us if we have any other advice. But I'm very passionate about, people
Mm-hmm.
becoming more fit and becoming more confident with themselves. And that's just it. I'm not trying to say that I'm Stallone or anything like that. But
you're passionate about a healthy lifestyle.
yeah, I've lost 100 pounds and I can't feel like I can't imagine feeling any better.
Yeah.
I can't see the bottom of my eyes, which is amazing
That's great.
because my eyes were like squished in because I was so tubby.
Oh my goodness.
But and if you saw on Twitter, I actually shared, and Instagram, I think.
Yeah, I think you shared on Instagram.
Yeah, I shared like what I looked before and what I look like now. But fitness is a huge passion of mine as well.
Mm-hmm.
But no other closing thoughts?
Nope.
Yeah, I think this is a good way to close out the show. And thank you for listening to this far. And as I promised, I'm going to tell you who our guest for next week will be. So before I get to that, I just want to remind you that we are going to be filming the podcast now. So if you haven't yet, subscribe to us on YouTube and ring that bell. Ding, ding. I don't know. YouTubers say it, so I guess I have to too. But we're going to be filming the podcast as well as filming other videos, other gaming news videos during the week, maybe 1 or 2 just to start, just to feel ourselves out. But yeah, definitely subscribe to YouTube and you can see our faces.
Woo.
Yeah. But yeah, so our guest for next week is actually Nick DiPaolo. Nick DiPaolo, who is the developer behind a game called Adam's Ascending. No, it was not named after me. But it's a game called Adam's Ascending, which if you watch the Kind of Funny Games showcase at E3,
Mm-hmm.
that game was the closer for the Kind of Funny Games showcase. So I'm really excited to talk to him. I've been emailing him and getting to know him. This dude is just so genuine, so authentic. His whole goal with game development is to encourage others. It's to inspire others to start their own video games. He's a self-learned video game programmer. So I'm very excited to share his thoughts with all of you guys. So he's very excited to come onto the show. So definitely stay in tune for next week with Nick DiPaolo, the game developer behind Adam's Ascending. So I think that's it. I think that's all of the announcements. We just want to remind you again to follow us on social media at Gaming Groceries or follow us individually. I'm at Ace the Grocer.
And I'm at Journey First.
And you can also follow us on Instagram, Games Groceries, all one word. Definitely check out our website, gamesandgroceries.com, where you can listen to all the episodes, find out where you can listen to the episodes, as well as read some articles that I write time to time. And also give us your honest feedback, your reviews, so that we can read it on the podcast. If you reviewed us on our 14 or 15 different platforms, we can't keep a track of it.
Yeah.
Definitely just email me.
Say, hey, I left your review, and we'll go look at it.
Yeah, we'll go look at it, or just like screenshot it.
Yeah.
If you want it read on the podcast, just let me know. And I will for sure read it in this voice.
No.
Oh,
No, you won't.
can't tell me what to do. But yeah, so that does it for this week's episode. We thank you once again for listening to this week's episode. We all hope you have a fantastic week. It's summertime. Enjoy that weather. Unless you hate summer, then I'm sorry. Wait till winter. But we thank you again for listening to this week's episode. Have a fantastic week. We love you all. Have a good week.